on.
Definitely, and that's what we aim to do, is really to base it in the scientific knowledge that we know, and not just come up with emotive speculations around that. So maybe, Jean, you want to continue to talk about the effects of discrimination, and especially in an African context, because I think this is quite important, where, in a sense, westernized ideas meet complex cultures, to talk about the whole notion, if someone say that it's un-African, or the prejudice and stereotype and myths that surrounds that.
Yeah, I would also want to sort of just taking forward from what Karine is suggesting, is that in much of Africa there is a notion that same-sex sexuality is un-African. And certainly we know from lots of research that have been done, mostly from an anthropological angle, is that there's diverse ways in which Africans also present as far as gender nonconformity is concerned, as far as sexual expression is concerned. So from that perspective, it's just not what we know to be the case that it is un-African. But then from cultural perspectives, many people, cultural and religious, many people consider same-sex attracted people as sinners. So there's condemnation from a religious point of view and a cultural point of view. We know from medical perspectives and psychology, psychiatry, historically there was the notion of being sick, and that we know dates back to 1973, when the ill health that goes with same-sex sexuality was found to be an untruth, and where psychiatry and psychology opposed that notion. But then this bill criminalized same-sex attracted people further. So to be a sinner, to be sick, and to be a criminal is quite something for an individual to deal with. And that kind of prejudice and the discrimination that could be linked to it very easily could lead to victimization as well. And that's not only state-sponsored victimization and oppression, certainly it could tear communities apart, where parents are asked to speak out and essentially report their children that are gay or lesbian. Neighbors that are jealous could do the same to someone they perceive to be gay or lesbian. Police officials could use it as a way to bribe LGBT individuals as well, or those perceived to be. So there's lots of dangers in this notion, and certainly, again, just very ill-conceived that such a bill would be considered, and for that matter passed.
Karine raised a number of important issues for me, which sort of relate to the role that psychology can play in advancing human rights. And one of the important aspects that sort of came to the fore for me was, how do we deal responsibly with issues relating to some homosexuality? How do we deal with these issues in a sensible and sensitive way as psychologists? Could you take this issue a little bit further and elaborate?
I think there's two levels for me. It's on an individual level, where you, as a psychologist, might be seeing clients or consulting families, or the individual that might be identifying as LGBT. And so it's on that individual level to really have the compassion and care. And even though you might not understand it, or maybe you have your own prejudice or stereotypes, so it's to examine your own beliefs and to really go back to research and knowledge and work in a factual manner. But yes, as you said, with lots of empathy and lots of acceptance.
Clarifying your own values as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think also clarifying the constructs of gender and biological sex and sexual orientation. We have a lot of knowledge, to build knowledge and to inform people, and that then lifts up to this more systemic level, that we need to take this into schools. We need to train our new psychologists in terms of this, and then also to inform society. And for me, this is what the statement does so profoundly, is I think we used to not be that visible as psychologists and that organized, and we in a sense have an advocacy role to play, even if we can frame it as informing society about what psychology is about, especially in an African context. We even struggle with that per se. And as you said in the beginning, this is such a contentious issue and such a sensitive issue, but really to inform society. I don't know, Jean, if you want to.
And making psychology more relevant, relevant to society more broadly, but the continent specifically too. And just to tie into what Karine responded in response to your question is, of course, psychology can and should be working within the human rights framework that our Constitution, for instance, endorses as well. And it is with a platform of equality and non-discrimination that also in a country such as Uganda, there could be a platform created where people could engage the attitudes of those who are homophobic or heterosexist. So certainly we've got work to do together with others from other disciplines and the activists that are trying to improve and, for that matter, safeguard individual LGBT individuals.
For the transformation to be able to infiltrate itself in the discipline of psychology, we also need to begin to think critically and differently about issues relating to sexuality and how psychology can engage these issues in a more effective and productive manner.
And I think we will be building on that discussion. If I may add, at the PsySSA conference, we'll have a special session, and we'll be taking the discussions further there.
Great. Thanks for your time, Bushadi.